Hello, I am Muhammad Ashibli. I'm 34 years old. I live now in Germany. I have studied English literature and I have a master's degree in arts from University of Rostock. In this series of books, I will provide you with books reviews about African American and Arab American literature. I am not only interested in this field of literature, but I think also that these books can provide us with informations about the issues and the plight of minorities, especially African American. Almost all of these books that I provide here in this channel talks about slavery, its manifestations and its consequences. I think that these books has a power to teach us more about our humanity. Hello again. Today I will begin with an autobiography that touches me when I read it. It has changed my life, I would say. My life before reading this autobiography is not the same after reading it. The writer of this autobiography is Frederick Douglass, one of the most important figures in African American history. Douglass was born in Tuckahoe in Talbot County. He doesn't know exactly when he was born, just like other enslaved people. But he estimates that in his narrative in 1818. Douglass was a brilliant writer, an eloquent orator, and an abolitionist. He was born enslaved in the South of America, and after that he managed to escape to freedom in the North, where he has begun his arbeit or his work to emancipate other African Americans. The importance of this narrative is not only that it has received a wide acclaim in the American society then, but because it has inspired hundreds, if not thousands, of biography writers who have rewrite this narrative. I think not only because its aesthetic features, but also because its power and the lessons that we can learn from it. I have read this narrative from this book, The Portable Frederick Douglass, edited by John Stauffer and Henry Louis Gate. This book is published in 2016. The publisher is Penguin Classics. You can find in this book the narrative of Frederick Douglass and a selection of his second and third autobiographies, in addition to selection of his speech that he has given in the cause of emancipation. This narrative is preceded with a preface written by William Lloyd Garrison, one of the abolition leaders in America then. Garrison gets to know Douglass in 1841 in a convention of anti-slavery society. Garrison writes in this preface about Douglass the following, I quote, "As a public speaker, he excels in pathos, wit, comparison, imitation, strength of reasoning, and fluency of language." This praise or this testimony, so to say, from Garrison represents an envelope for the Douglass or for Douglass messages, so that this message can reach to all Americans then. The message or the narrative of Douglass is divided into 11 chapters. In the course of this narrative, Douglass talks about his life from his birth in 1818 till his escape to freedom in 1838. Douglass describes in the course of the narrative the daily life of African American. This life that is full of crimes and practices that is done by the enslaver against the enslaved people. One of these crimes, as example, is the crime of Demby, or the crime against Demby. Demby is an enslaved African American who was murdered in cold blood by an overseer. In terms of Douglass, the most important scenes in this narrative, I think, are three scenes that appear in all of biographies, in almost all of the biographies written by or written about Douglass. These scenes are the scene of separation from his mother, the literacy scenes, and the scene of the battle with Covey, the overseer. The separation of Douglass from his mother happened when he was just an infant, and it was a common custom then to separate children from their mothers. The children were taken from their mothers and given to an old woman who take care of them until they get ready to the field work. Douglass understands this separation to hinder the development of the child's affection toward his mother and to destroy the natural affection of the mother for the child. In terms of Douglass, his mother was hired to work away from the place where he was. So the poor woman has to walk tens of miles in order to see her child. This separation scene, as Douglass describes in his narrative, represents a manifestation, only a manifestation of the horrible system of slavery. When he was a child, Douglass was hired to serve Mr. and Mrs. Auld in Baltimore. Mrs. Sophia Auld was a good woman. She has helped Douglass to learn how to read and write. Before her husband discovered that, and he prohibited his wife from doing that because he thinks that learning or teaching the slave how to read and write will make him unfit to slavery. If she gives the slave an inch, he will ask for and get the L. So the responsible power has changed this woman, this good woman, and make her a worse person than her husband. So Douglass works further in order to learn how to read and write, and he finds in the poor Irish boys good teachers. He gives them the bread in order to get from them the bread of knowledge. Finally, he could read and write. He could learn that, and he get benefit from that later when he writes his own protection that helps him to escape to freedom. When he was 16 years old, Douglass was hired to an overseer called Covey. Covey proves to be a man of his class, the class of overseers. He speaks only to order, and orders only to be obeyed. He breaks Douglass in the first 6 months, and he manages, or he was about to kill his hopes and dreams of freedom. One day, Douglass decides to fight back, to resist, and he could defeat Covey in this battle. After Douglass made this step, he has never been whipped again. This fight with Covey, this battle scene, represent the necessary resistance in order to get rid of oppression. The narrative of Douglass has more, but I just wanted to shed lights on this important book. And I hope that we meet again with another book.